Hey, what's up guys? Chubby Retro here. So we're actually still in Cincinnati, Ohio. We're actually going to partake in a tour of the underground and some tunnels. Seems interesting. Like I mentioned, we're here in Ohio. We will stop to take a look at jungle gyms, but we found these tours that were in downtown Ohio. We figured let's take advantage and take a look. It's actually with a company called American Legacy Tours. And so, I don't know, we'll check it out, see what it's all about. Come and join us. So I'm gonna record what I can. They said I can record, they just asked that I don't record everything, and I kind of don't record the tour guide speaking too much, so I'm gonna try to be respectful of that, but I'm gonna show you guys what I can.
Late-night neighborhood this way is very common in Germany, much of Europe in general, because they get taxed based on how much square footage your home took up. So you're incentivized both to haul in homes over tax. Late-night neighborhood this way, it also allows for a lot of people with densely packed in the area for many years. Probably the busiest park. They have a lot that goes on here. So the park hosts a lot of tailgates here, a lot of flea markets here. They'll have some movies in the park, some concerts here as well. And there are a few constitutions in the park. There's a dog park right behind you. There's a bar, and a few weeks there's a water park there in the middle, playground on the other side. So it's a very popular park in Cincinnati. Prior to this lane being parked, however, this lane was not Cincinnati. Probably because they're drinking out of an open sewage, pig carcasses, my technical guess. Top scientists at the time believed when they took the cholera died, they believed you want to bury the bodies far away from everybody. Because of the time they believed the bodies, that's the dogs could not do
So he's saying that this park, Washington Park, was made over a cemetery. And so there's bodies right under here. The dog park was built over a cemetery and it was made with concrete so that dogs can't dig if they smell the body. But all under here is previous cemetery, and so there may be bodies. Over there, there's actually a parking garage that was built underneath it, and they dug it up and they found so many dead bodies or skeletons, under here. But all that side over there was not dug up because there is no parking garage under it. So there are bodies underneath that park, Washington Park here in Cincinnati. Interesting. Yeah, so under here, all this is a parking garage. So there's nothing here because they already dug it up. They donated the skeletons to the University of Cincinnati. So interesting, and that's Music Hall. The excavation went up to there. So interesting.
Right there. That is Music Hall. Music Hall was built late 1870s. It was originally built at a housing event called May Festival. May Festival was a music festival organized by a woman named Mariah Longworth in 1870. After a few years, May Festival got
so he said that the music hall there is one of the top 15 most haunted places in the United States, and it's a theater, and highly recommends you come check it out if you like ghosts and you like all that stuff. So go ahead, check it out.
So Mad Tree Brew is one of their restaurants. This is also the site, one of the most famous meeting halls in Cincinnati history. So if you see the HW going on this side, it stands for Heinrich Mueller, because they took over the establishment. And in the 1873, going on this side, that was the year it opened. And I like that being there, just like the one fact I had to memorize. So, Heinrich Mueller, he fought in the American Civil War, he fought for the Union. In the middle of a heavy cannon bombardment, he got down on his hands and knees and he prayed to the Lord. Said, "Dear Lord, if you get me out of this war alive, I promise I will return to Cincinnati and open a great temple in your honor." Well, Heinrich Mueller survived the war. He returned to Cincinnati.
So that house I was showing you, the greenhouse with the H&W, that was owned by a Mr. Herman, I believe, and he actually owned the Reds, and that was a gentleman that was kind of not the owner, but the father of the World Series. Very influential baseball person and prior owner of the Cincinnati Reds.
Church was the first Catholic church built in the Cincinnati area. And when I talk about the original church they had built right here, try and visualize it, it looked nothing like this. It was almost like a big wooden box, schoolhouse or barn. So they originally built that barn-shaped church right here. Because at the time, this land was considered far outside city limits. Very cheap to build a church here. So the church got its first bishop, a man named Bishop Edward Fenwick. He did not like the church was so far away.
Now we're going down into the crypts of the church.
Let's point something out real quick so it all makes sense. So, you guys see this right here? This is an illustration of the first church when they literally tried to take up a new. I guess if you're being very generous, you can sort of see how they thought they'd be able to pull it off. Well, so they picked the church, move it out of here. These crosses right here, these mark the graves that were in the graveyard attached to the first church. So they picked this church up, move it out of here. The graveyard remained behind, but now that thing is vacant. When they decided they wanted to build this present day church here, to build the church, they dig these people up and move them to the crypt right here. Follow me. These are some of them you're about to see. He's a cool guy, but sometimes people ask him, like, if he's there, do you think he goes what is it? He gets upset, no, that's ridiculous. So if you see him, ask him if he's a really nice guy. Anyway, so I'm going to explain the layout of the crypt, and I'll kind of step aside, let you guys check it out on your own. Again, feel free to take pictures throughout. The crypt itself is not very big. It's roughly about the same size as this room, but it is broken up into two. This first room right here, there's going to be buried in there. That's just a disclaimer, so the headstones move down from the graveyard, and then they pop against walls here, so read about who's before. So this first room here is going to be buried. When you walk in over to your right, there's the second room. That room to your right, that's the crypt itself. That is the room people are actually buried in. When you walk in there, there's going to be 42 people buried right here. The floor in the crypt are actually some of the tombstones. Yeah, feel free to check this out, guys. I'm just going to step out here so there's one less person. Whenever you see everything you want to see, sure you want me back out here.
So this is actually where they moved all the corpses. They buried them here in this crypt.
just put the link over there. Alright, on that note, I'll take you guys. All tunnels are in those two buildings. The red building right there, that was the brewery itself. The white building behind it, that was a barley house that they held the ingredients to make beer. So all tunnels are in those two buildings. The two buildings as well, they're separated by a small street called Hamer Street. Under Hamer Street, there's a small tunnel that connects two sets of tunnels together. So hopefully it all makes sense. No, I didn't. Yeah, they're not going anywhere. So yeah, present day, this building is actually its apartment building called the Guild House. A lot of people who live here at the Guild House, a lot of them are artists and philosophers, so they rent out one of the rooms and then give them the space down there to work on projects they have. So one piece of art here real quick, all these burnt pieces of wood you see around you, it's actually a set of sculptures. It's titled Old St. George Lost in the Dragon. Where this name came from was back in 2008, Old St. George Church near the University of Cincinnati got struck by lightning when carried flames burned down the steeple. So these are actually all burnt pieces of lumber from the University, the church and the University. Okay, so prior to being the apartment building, this building in the 1850s was originally the John Hoffman Brewery.
Now we're going down into the tunnels.
Be down right behind you. Alright, as I'm going over here. We're gonna head down in just a minute. One thing I'll point out real quick is we'll answer a question someone's gonna have in a few minutes. Did you guys?
Now we're supposed to try to get down this tight staircase.
This was the original entrance, but they used to use a ladder. Go right where those folks are, we'll get started. Alright, folks. So, here's the way we'll do things. I'll walk y'all around space. I will make sure you can see everything there is to see down here. I will also give you guys a little bit of time to explore on your own, just with your group without me. So, while I got everyone here, I'd just like to answer a few questions I already got. But again, feel free to take pictures throughout the tour. Except that, we'll jump into it. So first off, everyone, welcome to tunnels. So I mentioned the whole point of these tunnels. These tunnels were just dug out to be a big walk-in refrigerating facility for refrigerating, fermenting, and storing barrels of lager beer at the proper temperature. Lager is an important distinction. There are two main types.
So this is where they would roll the empty clean barrels through. There was a ramp up on top that I filmed earlier. There was a ramp and they would get the empty barrels, roll them down, roll them through this opening, roll them across over here where they would fill them in with those pipes. There's some pipes here that would fill them up and then they would store them in the bigger room. So So this right now is about 55 degrees. We're about 30 feet under the ground. And this was where they would store the beer that they would make the lockers, because they would get it down to about 40 degrees. There was a room up on top where the ice would be, it would melt, and it would go through some copper pipes here that would help keep it refrigerated. So this is all under Cincinnati, Ohio, off of Vine Street. So this is all underneath there. And it's pretty interesting. It's cold down here. But yeah, this is a big pile of dirt that they pulled out from the basement upstairs when they excavated that. Once they decided they didn't need these cold rooms anymore because refrigeration was created. So, very interesting. And this is the storage room. This was the main storage room. That's huge. It's huge. So it's just interesting. This is just a quick little tour of some historical aspects of Cincinnati, but also the fledgling beer industry and the underground storage facilities and tunnels. So it's kind of an impromptu tour, but it's been pretty interesting, pretty fun.
What's up? This is bedrock. They may have also put it. This one. So one thing about this stuff, so if you guys haven't been over here since last time we did this, we reopened this because our long-term goal for these tunnels is we actually kind of tap the here between Cincinnati. That's our goal. I got to say that's the part of this. We have a museum look like. We have repainted right here where our gate started in the museum. I've also been here for Prohibition. Dun dun dun. Okay. Assuming you are already loosely familiar with Prohibition, I'm going to tell you one story from Prohibition you may not be familiar with. A little backstory so the whole thing makes sense. So Prohibition begins in 1919, passing in the 1890s. Now, if you are confused by Prohibition, you are probably not alone. All I've talked about throughout this entire tour was all the drinking, all the brewing going on. I mentioned at one point all the breweries this thing had, over 1850 establishments. There were 136 on Vine Street alone. That's where the Killer Pub Crawl took place. And just across the country in general, this time, people just drank way more than they do today. A lot of people are employed by breweries, a lot are employed by beer gardens. The men, the children, everyone's brewing and drinking all throughout the day. It's like a big party that never ends. So if you're wondering, well then what is the deal with Prohibition? If all this brewing and drinking is going on, then why would a few, buzz those who alcohol sale and distribution of alcohol? Pretty much, that's the reason. During this time period, people just drank way more than we do today. And some people started wondering if maybe, just maybe, without pointing any fingers, some of us are drinking.
So he was saying that during Prohibition, a lot of women's leagues were trying to outlaw drinking and alcohol because the women said that being married to a drunk husband was not necessarily the funnest thing. So I don't know. You tell me if being married to a drunk husband is actually fun.
Yeah.
I had a feeling it was going to be something like that.
What is it, Carlos? Some dark tunnels, scary. I don't see anything. It's too scary when I leave.